Hi everyone, hope you're doing well, hope you are training hard. Okay, today's video is about how to warm up before a workout. Now, a really good warm up is super important, but it's generally not done that much. And the reasons are that one, it can be a little bit time consuming, and two, I think a lot of people think it's pretty boring. Now, I'll talk about why a warm-up's important in another video, but here I just wanted to demonstrate a warm-up and provide a little bit of a template for the best things to do before a session, and also a great tip as well. Now, the first thing you've got to do is raise your body temperature. Now, generally that's done by raising your heart rate, raising your respiratory rate, so you've got to do some sort of physical warm-up to get you out of breath, and you need to do it for a few minutes. But a great tip here as well for raising your body temperature is simply to have a warm or a hot shower before the session. That alone will immediately make your body more conducive to working more smoothly. But even if you do that, you do need to still get your heart rate up to get your blood flowing more quickly and to get blood and oxygen to the muscles. But another tip, that even before you start raising your body temperature, I think it's a good tip to do some very light static stretches even before the warm-up. And the reason for that, I've seen people pull muscles in the warm-up. They've gone into a warm-up too vigorously and they've actually pulled a muscle at that point. So what the sort of template should be is some light static stretches, then the physical warm-up, which might be just jumping up and down, jogging on the spot, just to get your body temperature raised, then some more static stretches. Then you go into some sport-specific or activity-specific exercises. In other words, the movements that you're about to do. So if you're about to do kettlebells, do some small light kettlebell work. If you're going to do some burpees, do a few burpees. If it's actually a weight training session, bench press, shoulder press, deadlifts, whatever it is, very light weights, moving those specific muscles to get them warm and raise that body temperature. Those activity specific exercises will serve also as a dynamic stretch to really loosen up those specific muscles. And then finally, a few more static stretches, and you'll probably notice that you can stretch further the second time around than you did the first time. Okay, so jogging on the spot can be just literally jumping up and down, high knees, but I would say do it for at least 2 or 3 minutes. You've got to feel like you are out of breath. That sort of signifies that your heart rate got up, your respiratory rate got up, and then your body temperature will start to rise. Once you've done that, we can go into some standard static stretches that I think are really important. These are more general workout type stretches. Obviously, if you're about to do deadlifts and bench press, it's important to do movements specific to that activity with a very light weight. Okay, so here are some of the really good static stretches that I think are good, that you should really give a go. So calf stretch, very important. But not just calf stretch, Achilles stretch as well. And the Achilles can be targeted by just bending in the knee very slightly, and you'll feel the tension a little lower in the Achilles. The Achilles is super important to warm up, mainly because if you damage it, it takes so long to recover and repair. Okay, next one is hamstrings. Again, just a basic stretch, but super important. Sitting on the floor, legs out in front of you. Now, when you first start, you may just want to reach to your ankles, just hold the stretch, feel your way into the stretch. You'll probably feel your lower back stretching as well a little bit. Hold the stretch for a good 30 seconds. If you can as well, feel your way into getting your forehead towards your knees, if possible. So, as I say, this is a great stretch really. It's a sort of a fundamental stretch that really gets the hamstrings and the lower back. And there's one thing that I've always found is that you can do this stretch for a while, 30 seconds, a minute or longer, and then you do a couple of other stretches. But the important thing is you come back to it and do it at least a second time, because that second time you do find that you can stretch a little bit further. Okay, so while you're on the ground, it's easy just to move into this stretch, which is a lower back, the side of your lower back and your glute, and it really releases any sort of stiffness at the side, lower back and glute. And you can play around with this, in this situation I've got my right leg over my left, and if my right leg is bent, then I'm going to get a certain amount of weight on that side pulling down. But if I straightened my leg out, then there's effectively more weight at that side, so you'll get a stronger stretch. And of course, you should always do stretches symmetrically. So you would of course do the other side, left leg over right, and then try and turn your upper body the opposite way. So when it's right leg over left, look the opposite way, left leg over right as it is here. Just sort of try and twist your torso the other way. Okay, moving into another classic stretch for the adductors, the groin and the hips. This really is a great fundamental stretch. Improves that hip flexibility. You can sort of hold your feet, but also you can use your elbows to just push your knees, your legs further apart a little bit. But again, just gently feel your way into the stretch. Just take it nice and easy. And then you can always come back to it on the second round and you'll find that you can stretch that a little bit further, just increasing the range of movement. So again, now lower back stretch, another classic cobra stretch for the lower back. Again, it's that feeling your way into it, moving left and right, just sort of trying to release any stiffness in that area. I tend to try and look forwards rather than look up, because that sometimes puts a little bit of a strain on your neck. But this is a great stretch for the back. You can then move into cat and cow. Again, just improving that flexibility, releasing any stiffness in the lower back. A lower back that's giving a good range of movement and that's free of any stiffness is really important for any movement that you're about to do, any exercise. This is another great one for the groin, adductors. Stand with your feet quite far apart, just comfortable distance apart, and just feel into sort of maybe lunge a little bit on one leg and feel the stretch on the other leg. As you can see here now, I sort of put my hands on my knees and I can just sort of feel my way into the stretch. I mean, I often have conversations with people and I'm doing this stretch. It's just completely subconscious type of stretch that I do sometimes. But it really is a great stretch to keep a good range of movement, keep good flexibility in that area. This is another good one, just going into a sort of a lunge, but you can feel the tension on your hamstrings and then just go forwards a little bit. It's quite good for hamstrings. Again, I've mentioned static stretches and you can hold it for a while, but it's also good to hold the stretch and then just feel your way into it. Just move very gently around the stretch. It just helps open up those hips, loosen off the hamstrings. All of these stretches really are the key to opening up the lock of the workout, if you will. So another one, classic quad stretch, just holding your feet, pulling back as to the point that's comfortable, holding it there. Very important to keep those quads flexible as well. You might now want to do some activity specific movements for those specific muscles, depending on what you're going to do, of course. Usually in the circuits that I do, squat jumps are usually in there, burpees are usually in there. So I usually do a few of those just to get those muscles warm. Burpees, if you're doing a push-up in the burpee, it's good to stick a couple of push-ups in there as well, or more than a few really. By the end of a warm-up, really, you should be lightly sweating, or you should be lightly sweating, certainly going into the stretches. After those activity-specific exercises, you'd probably want to do a second round of static stretches. And this may seem like overkill. You may think, okay, I don't really need to do this. But it is amazing how many times that you can think that you've warmed up enough. And actually, it's only halfway through the session that you feel like you're moving really smoothly. Don't underestimate how much stretching you have to do to really get up to speed and to get a good performance out of it. After you've done the second round of them, you should be then pretty much good to go to get stuck into the session. Okay, I've done another video, just a little bit more detail as to why you should warm up, and another one coming up about why it's important to do a warm down, why it's very important to do a warm down. Okay, see you in the next one.